The legend of the woman in white is one of the most enduring ghostly archetypes found in folklore around the world. Though the details vary by region, the core image remains the same: a pale, sorrowful female spirit dressed in white, often seen near water, forests, or rural roads. In many traditions, she is the ghost of a woman who died tragically, frequently tied to betrayal, heartbreak, or the loss of her children. In European lore, the woman in white is often a warning spirit, appearing before death or disaster. In Latin American cultures, she takes form in La Llorona, the weeping woman said to wander riversides, mourning her drowned children. Even in the Philippines, a long-haired woman in a white dress haunts Balete Drive in Quezon City, often picked up by taxi drivers, scaring them into abandoning their taxis. In the US, similar stories are attached to desolate paths and roadways, where the woman in white appears to travelers before vanishing, or hitchhiking only to disappear from a moving car. Though her name and story shift with the setting, the woman in white almost always symbolizes grief, justice denied, and the pain of unresolved tragedy. While the woman in white is a global legend, Hawaii has its own version of this mysterious figure, appearing along coastlines, deserted roads, or near sacred sites. These island tales often blend traditional Hawaiian spirituality with modern ghost lore, creating chilling stories that locals still whisper about today. In some accounts, the woman in white is seen walking barefoot along the highway, vanishing when approached. Others say she appears near ancient heiau or fish ponds, sometimes asking for a ride or for directions, only to disappear moments later. Some believe she may be a lost soul, while others say she could be a goddess or ancestral spirit in disguise, testing the living. Kahuna Nui Emma de Vries was the great-great-granddaughter of Keali'opunui and Heva, the Kahuna Nui of Kamehameha I. In 1971, she shared a story with the newspaper about a ghostly encounter from 1934. In those days, she said she lived in heiau with her Aunt Rose Kailiolani and Grandpa Henry de Vries. On clear days during mountain apple season, Grandpa and their yardman, Aquino, would hike the upland trails to gather fruit. Their path took them past an old heiau, a sacred site nestled in the forest. One afternoon as they neared the heiau, they encountered a striking woman standing along the path. She wore a flowing white dress, and her long black hair hung wet down her back, as if she had just emerged from the rain, though the day had been dry. Grandpa greeted her in Hawaiian, and the two spoke quietly for a few minutes. Then, just as they were about to part ways, an awful rumble echoed from above. Without warning, boulders and rocks came crashing down across the trail they had just been walking. Had they not paused to speak with the mysterious woman, both Grandpa and Aquino would have been caught in the rockfall. Startled but unharmed, Grandpa turned to thank her, but she was gone. There was no sign of her anywhere. No footprints, no rustling in the brush, just the silence of the forest and the fading echoes of falling stone. She had vanished as suddenly as she'd appeared. To this day, we believe that woman in white saved their lives. Another story comes from downtown Honolulu. Although they claimed not to believe in ghosts at the time, a few well-known women in Honolulu said that they witnessed gymnastics beyond physical possibility. In 1899, a party of women were returning to their homes in a hackney, which is a type of horse-drawn taxi used in those days. It was around midnight, just a couple of blocks away from their home. As the horse was walking slowly along, they saw a woman dressed in white standing in the middle of the street. The driver slowed and the figure walked up to the rig. The woman called out, "Away!" But without a word, the white-robed figure sprang into the air and over the horse's back, landing softly on the other side, with no assistance whatsoever. The driver whipped up the horse and drove away as quickly as he could. While the women all said that they didn't believe in ghosts, they also didn't believe that such a feat could have been made by any living person, especially in a long white dress. The next tale takes us on a terrifying carriage ride from Palama to Makiki, also in 1899. The clock at the old stone church struck midnight. 32 slow, echoing chimes that filled the dark with something almost unnatural. That's when the carriage came flying down Beretania Street. The horse was wild-eyed, foaming at the mouth, and the driver, ashen and shaking, looked like he'd seen death itself. When he finally reached safety near a mounted police officer, he blurted out the strange and chilling tale. He'd been coming in from Kalihi, headed into town, when his carriage was flagged down on King Street in Palama. A woman, tall, silent, and dressed in white, stepped in without a word. She simply pointed forward, and he obeyed. The horse seemed to fall under some kind of spell. It picked up speed, trotting with unnatural purpose. Near heiau church, the woman gently touched the driver's arm. The horse stopped instantly. She glanced up at the church clock, then the horse started again, as if it understood. At Alapa'i Street, the same thing happened. The woman signaled, the horse halted. Then suddenly, they were racing down Beretania, turning up Pensacola, heading straight for Makiki Cemetery. The driver said nothing. He just held on. When they reached the cemetery gate, locked, cold and still, the driver realized the woman was no longer beside him. She was inside the gate, standing silently among the graves. Terrified, he screamed. Without waiting to collect the fare, he turned the carriage around and whipped the horse into a frenzy. But as he hit Pensacola Street again, there she was, the woman in white, waiting, beckoning. He didn't stop, didn't look back. He just drove faster than he ever had into the dark. Just like her counterparts around the world, Hawaii's woman in white has a long history and leaves behind more questions than answers, haunting reminders of the island's spiritual depth and lingering mysteries.